Self-concept. Is it important for manifesting? Isn't it important? What is it? So many questions and confusion about self-concept and the role it plays. Often self-concept looks like this extra piece we have to do, but I want to show you how critical it is and what you will feel when you've really mastered self-concept, the benefits of nailing that part of yourself in. Welcome, fellow Voyagers. Jess here with Odyssey Human, here today to help you hack through the jungles of consciousness so you can discover the hidden treasures inside of you. My friends, it's all there ready and waiting to be activated by you, through you, and for you. If that sounds good, please subscribe. We'd love to have you join us. I want you to live your best life. I want you to be successful at this, and I want to provide unique perspectives and applications so that you can find the success that you want. My name is Jess. I am a manifestation coach and a neuro-linguistic programming master practitioner. So I take a very practical approach to all of this. If you would like to work with me, details are in the description box under every video. Self-concept. What is self-concept? Let's start there. I'm sure you've heard a million definitions of self-concept, but it's essentially, how are you manifesting yourself? What ideas, thoughts, beliefs do you hold about yourself? And then do you see evidenced in your physical reality? The ideas that we have about ourselves, whether we're someone who moves easily through the world, whether we're confident, whether we think we're amazing, whether we think that we have what we want, all of those are just ideas. And because we take them for granted, we put them on autopilot as habits. That's what we create. That's what we see reflected back to us in our physical reality. We're going to see proof of the thoughts and ideas and beliefs that we hold about ourselves. So it's like a little basket of ideas that we have about ourselves that then generate our experience of self. How do you experience yourself in the world on a day-to-day basis? Whatever we are applying to ourselves makes it that much harder or easier to manifest our other bigger goals. This little basket of beliefs that we have about ourselves filters out then what we receive, whether we reach our goals or not, what we believe to be true about our relationship then to our goals. So often when we get a want or desire, it pops in and it feels very unbaked. It's really just a knowing of, I really want this. This is really important to me. And so whatever beliefs we have in our basket about ourselves are going to influence how easily or with how much difficulty we then obtain that goal. Because in our basket, if we feel things have come really hard to me, I have to work really hard for stuff, nothing is easy, that is the experience then we're going to carry into pursuing that goal. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. So self-concept really is going back to how are we manifesting ourselves and hitting that core level. I was never one, again, I never put any merit into self-concept. What does that have to do with anything? It never occurred to me until I mastered it, until I was like, wow, I've arrived here and this just makes things so much simpler. I didn't realize how bad my self-concept was until it became good. That contrast offers us an opportunity to compare. I was here, now I am here. And I talk a lot about mental mapping here. And on our mental map, those are two very different locations, which create two very different experiences of self. Of one is struggle, hardship, adversity, heavy, hard, lots of energy. The other one is easy, light, self-contained, empowered, simple. Things were straightforward. Two different experiences. I want to help you discern where you are on your self-concept journey today, because I'm a believer now. I am all about self-concept. I think it's awesome. It is so practical and useful in a day-to-day lived experience sense of dropping all of that old story about this is hard for me, nothing comes easy. When we drop all that and let it go, how much more pleasant just every moment by moment becomes for us. So I'm a huge proponent of it now. I'm starting to talk more about it in my videos. How do we know where we are? So let's talk about our three capacities that we always have: attention, story, and our habits. These are the three faculties we constantly use that are part of our sense of self that we use to manipulate and move around our mental map, that we use to create what we want, that we use to locate ourselves and identify where we are and what we're doing and what's happening by utilizing these three things. So first thing is attention. And check out, if you want a more deep dive into these three faculties, I go into that in the All-Seeing Eye video. Check that one out. It's a much deeper dive than we're going to go today. Our attention. When our self-concept isn't well formed, when we have just been going through life, experiencing things, getting tossed about by the waves of the 3D, our attention has not yet been trained to stay on us. When we're first starting, our attention may feel like Slimer, the little ghost from Ghostbusters, where the minute something catches our attention, it's like Slimer's off. He has disappeared. Slimer is the entirety of our attention, like this little ball of goo. And some 3D circumstance comes up, and our attention, all of it gets hijacked by this circumstance. Let's say for this example that we get down to the last like $10 in our bank account. When we see that $9.86 in our bank account, all of Slimer goes to that circumstance, that fact, that thing in the 3D, that number on the screen of our bank account. Slimer is there in that moment. And then what happens is that we forget ourselves. It's a moment of self-abandonment. We totally disappear into Slimer. Slimer is our attention. He's just staring at that number, and he's starting to tell this story about, oh my gosh, I have less than $10. All of these thoughts and beliefs that start coming out of Slimer, this like trail of slime. There is a sense then of your complete attention going to that number, your complete attention going to that circumstance. That's Slimer. He leaves you and he disappears into that fact, and he's just so fixated on it. Attention is relevance and power. So when our attention gets completely consumed in some 3D circumstance, we are essentially completely abandoning our sense of self. We have lost ourselves to Slimer. He's gone off and he's staring at that screen and he's putting goo all over it. It is all consuming. Our boundaries, our sense of who we are is gone, because when we master attention, on the other end of doing self-concept work, taking the time to be able to hold our shape, what happens is that we're able to observe, but we don't disappear into that number. When you have worked with your attention to practice redirecting it to yourself, redirecting it to how you feel, redirecting it to what is important to you, redirecting it away from these really scary circumstances, managing your attention effectively through a strong self-concept, is that you don't disappear into that number. You observe it, you see it. You're like, oh, $9.86. That's interesting. But you hold your shape. That's what it feels like to me. I have described this to people as holding your shape. Whereas with Slimer, you completely disappeared. You evaporated into a vapor, and that vapor is now circling around that number and fixating on the number. And the thoughts are streaming, and all of the thoughts are now serving that number and what it means. Where are you in that? Where are you? And this is what self-concept and integrating navigation that I talk about a lot on this channel. Where are you? You are ceasing to exist. Now you're just the pain and fear of looking at that number. That's all you are in that moment. You've given your full attention over to it. Slimer is just sitting there with his googly eyes and his big teeth, and he's sliming all over everything. But strengthening your self-concept, you're able to maintain your form. You're able to maintain your shape, where you observe, but you don't disappear. That is how it feels, of like, my edges don't disappear. I don't just evaporate into vapor, into this fully consuming attention of what's happening out there, into the circumstances, like Slimer does. So that's how you know you've done your self-concept work in the area of attention with this faculty. The second part are story. When our self-concept leans toward abandoning ourselves, leans toward disappearing into circumstances, our stories are going to take on a different quality. The average person, we have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. 85% of those are negative, 95% are repetitive, and 90% are subconscious. So the majority of our thoughts and our stories we are telling ourselves are judging ourselves as less than in the situation. They're negative, they're victim-based or villain-based. We feel like the bad guy. Our story that naturally precipitates out of our perspective when we haven't done the self-concept work is to be negative, victim-based. I am less than. So when Slimer took off, he saw that $9.86. What does the story immediately go to? The Slimer version of us is telling us, oh my God, I'm going to be homeless on the streets. Oh my God, this wildest, worst case scenario kind of thinking that shows up in our stories. And again, when we do that, we abandon ourselves to a really scary story that we have just told. The story often, it is completely fused with the situation, with the circumstance. It's completely fused with that number of $9.86. It's such a contraction. It feels so pinpointed and focused and terrifying and real. We get carried away with believing it, and then we act from that. We allow that story to then define who we are. It's almost like we take it with us and integrate it into who we are. Now we're battling against it and trying to make it not happen. Whereas on the other end of the spectrum, because I want to give you both perspectives, when you've really worked on self-concept, when you've really committed yourself to holding your edges, to being a complete whole entity, as a physical entity, as a mental entity, like as an abstraction, you are whole and complete. You have your own form and shape that doesn't disappear into a story like that. Your stories start to reinforce separation and detachment naturally. The story in a healthy way reinforces separateness. That's interesting. This is just where I am right now. This is just where my bank account is right now. I know my ideas are worth millions of dollars. I know I am abundant. I know I always figure things out. I know I am separate from this number. This number does not get to carve out a chunk of me because I'm holding my shape. In my world, in my imagination, in my compact, succinct little world, my domain I have built for myself, I know I'm going to be just fine. It doesn't matter how much money I have in my bank account. I know that I'm going to figure it out. I know that this is all going to be okay. Can you feel the difference between those two of losing yourself completely in a scary story versus opening yourself up to more possibilities, being aware that you are whole, you are safe, you are okay, no matter what you see out there, no matter what story you may be tempted to believe by some piece of evidence, that you can back up and be like, whoa, 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 like I am contained, I'm okay. This is just a temporary place where we are. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be like this the rest of my life. Doesn't mean that tomorrow I can't have $1,000 in that bank account. Anything can happen. I am creative and imaginative. I make money easily. I could go get a job off Craigslist. You don't get drawn into the worst case scenario and believe that's the only way it can go, because you tell more stories that encourage a healthy separation between you and the circumstances. And the last part of habits. On one end, habits serve the 3D. Your habits are always in service, in attention, catering to worst case scenarios and catering to scary predictions. Your habits all seem to be serving something that is not you. That's what it feels like. The loss of your energy, the loss of your wholeness, having to struggle against circumstances and wrestle with things to get your way. Whereas with a strong, powerful self-concept, when you've mastered this, your habits serve you. They prioritize you. You invest in yourself. You pay attention to how you feel. And when you feel bad, you immediately attend to that. And so you are very attentive to your own habits, your own emotions, what's going on inside of you. You are keeping a very sovereign eye over your own space, because you're all you got, baby. You have acknowledged the belief that you are all you got. You are only experiencing yourself. You're only experiencing yourself through these circumstances and situations and other people. They're all reflections of you, and you have acknowledged that and got on board with it. So your habits become very self-contained. They support self-containment. They support a sense of sovereignty. You're not getting knocked out and consumed by bullshit because you have locked everything in. You are well maintaining your own world, your own space, your own ideas of who you are. You have curated those with intention. It's that self-justification that people talk about, that self-validation of knowing that nothing outside of you can bring you the fulfillment that you could deliver to yourself. Nothing outside of you could bring you the levels of love and satisfaction that you can bring to yourself through imagination. And you start to justify, rely, and count on that power of your imagination to create the scenes, the visualizations, the affirmations that support the things you want, that support the things that are important to you, that support your health and well-being. And you finally have dominion over you. You have dominion over yourself and your attention, your story, and your habits. A dominion that doesn't immediately evaporate when the 3D shows you something contrary, scary, big, intimidating. You have given yourself realness. And if you haven't checked out my realness video, you've made yourself real. You made yourself real. This is all about deciding to be you, despite evidence, despite circumstances, despite people, this rebellious sovereignty of being you, a you that doesn't disappear at the first sight of trouble, a you that can hold your edges, hold your boundaries, and doesn't just dissipate into smoke because you're real. You have taken on realness, my friend. So that's how to know. That is how to know when you've really mastered self-concept. Where are you on these scales? I know this gave you some perspective and knowingness of where you are, where you want to be, what you want to work on. If you've already arrived, I know you got it. Drop a comment below if you would like to engage with me. I'm happy to engage with you. And if you need a tool to help you reprogram your mind, make it a more peaceful, pleasant, loving space, go ahead and grab that below. That's available in every video for free. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.